So far, we've mainly been playing around with our ChatGPT AI companion, but I want to highlight some of the other systems that we can utilize. Namely, for tone specifically, I want to focus in on Microsoft Copilot. One of the great features about Copilot for Web is that you actually can determine what it calls conversation styles. And conversation styles is actually a great way to determine the tone of the AI's response before you even put in a prompt or request. Let's jump right into it. So you can see here I'm on my Copilot web page. You can see we have a bunch of different examples of prompts that we can use, but what I want to do is focus in, and I'll zoom in a little bit here. I want to focus in specifically on the bottom of the page, and we could take a look at what it calls these conversation styles. So as mentioned, Copilot actually lets you determine the tone of its response even before you go ahead and write in any sort of prompt. Say, for example, you wanted to ask it some of the more creative responses. Well, you might just want to go ahead and select the creative conversation style, and now we can ask it to do something like compose a short story for me, or compose a poem about AI in 100 words or less. And now what's that going to do is it's going to take our response as it normally would, but the way that it responds is going to change. It's going to provide us a bit more of a friendlier tone, maybe a bit more informal, and specifically it's going to focus on the creative aspect. So it's going to find words and adjectives that are a bit more artistic, really emphasize what we want. And you can see here it's going ahead and it's typing us a short little poem about AI using that creative tone. It's quite nice. It has some really great writing skills in my opinion. Right. Let's jump back in. Let's go ahead and select new topic and let's head back down. You can see here that actually when we select the conversation style, the color changes, so it actually helps us understand what we're working with. Let's go back to balance. Now balance is the default conversation style for Copilot, and this is going to find a nice balance between being formal and a bit more informative while still having a bit more of that lax conversational approach. So we think about balance, think about it similarly to the way a lot of our conversational AIs engage with us. So it'll sound pretty similar to the way that Alexa or Conmigo or Siri will talk to us. A bit more informal, a bit more person-to-person interaction. But it's still going to try to find that nice balance between the creative side and the more academic precise. Now, for example, let's ask it a basic question. Right? We can ask it, what is generative AI? Right? And again, because it's on balance mode, it's going to find a nice way to explain it without getting too deep into the academic side or perhaps the more precise versions. Right? It's going to try to give us things in a pretty much more common language format or a natural language format. You can see it even adds in a little emoji, combine a powerful tool that combines creativity and technology. Great response here. Let's go back to new topic one more time so we can explore the final conversation style, which is precise. Now, precise is going to try to figure out how to respond in a tone that is concise, it is clear, and is usually pretty good for fact-finding questions. So we asked, in the balanced conversation style, we asked what is generative AI. Let's take a look at how the response can be a bit different by using the precise conversation style. So go ahead and give it a click. We'll see that the UI changed a bit in terms of coloring. And now let's go ahead and ask it the same question. So what is generative AI? And just for some, let's add a little bit of context. Let's add a framing. Answer in 100 words or less. Let's just go ahead and add that framework in there, give it a little bit of extra prompting. And now it's going to take its time to respond. And we'll take a look at how the precise conversation style can change a little bit from the balance or even the creative side. So you can see already the language has changed a bit. Generative AI is a subset of artificial intelligence that uses machine learning models to generate new data similar to the data it was trained on. Right? It's a bit more concise, a bit more formal, a bit more academic in its approach. You can see it gave us a nice, very short response. But it's very clear, it's to the point, and it gets us exactly what we need. And so I highly recommend we play around with some of those different formats. Play around with the conversation styles because it can really boost the way that we engage with it. Now I want to jump back into another AI system that we can use, and we can explore how we can use tone for some other different use cases.